Vice Mayor Peacock,
Here.
Councilmember Hartle,
Here.
Councilmember Lay, Councilmember Womack, Mayor Wynkoop.
Yes. Join me in a prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this time together of community leaders and citizens. We ask now that you give us wisdom to be fair and equal and just to all of our residents in our budget coming up. We ask that you give us wisdom for council to do the right thing when we need to do it. Give us safety as we depart from here and head our ways to our families. Bring us back again for our next meeting. In thy name, amen.
First thing is, the most fun is the budget. And of course, this is just our preliminary, so, this is where if you have any obvious questions, and then, go through it. Anybody have any questions of any of the budget? Any on council you want to talk about?
Couple things. I'd like to ask Paul, in Public Works or in a Parks and Recreation, we have our dock, that Lake Apopka dock that needs possibly repair coming up within a year. Have you looked into or have any ideas, projections of what that will cost? And if it's so, has that been included in our potential budget this year?
I have not, and I do not know the exact cost it would take. Right now, the only thing that really needs to get fixed that's urgent is kind of some of the rails and the center beam across there. So I don't think it would be a massive amount to do that, but I honestly haven't really studied it that hard.
Okay. I was just trying to be somewhat proactive so we don't have to do budget amendments coming up this year. To me, it's easier to over budget and not use it and carry it over next year than having to constantly doing budgets.
Sure, I can definitely look into that.
Is the budget we received originally a couple days ago different than the one that's on our desk at this point?
So just two things that have changed, I guess three things that have changed. The one that's on your desk, Mayor Joe Wynkoop was able to bring to my attention that on the budget for 2023, as you look back to 2023, that was actual the budget that was approved and not the actual that we ended up with at the end of the year. So the new one on your desk shows the actual numbers, so you can just look back to past years to kind of see what's popped up. Then Mr. Lay, meeting with me, was able to find in Parks and Recreation, there was a zero omitted from the insurance category. I had 2,300 instead of 23,000. So I did increase that and take the money from that out of, we moved it out of the capital outlay sections and out of capital benches.
So this draft is no longer good, right?
The first one.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers are very close. It's just now you can look at the 2023.
Yeah, you got
That way you can look all the way across.
the actual.
So the only thing that changed of the 2025 budget is the parks section.
Anybody else?
One other thing, Paul, I know we mentioned the conditions of our community center and the potential rehab or whatever we're going to do. Has that been given into the light at the end of the tunnel on that as to costs?
Yeah, so when the budget was prepared, wasn't aware of the community center of the issues going on. So I think we need to definitely have a discussion of what council would like to do on that as far as, do we want to put a little bit more money into it and keep it up for a little bit longer and deal with it down the road? Do we want to try to do next budget year, et cetera? So that's probably something that's worthy of a topic. In the parks, I do have some money, as we talked about in the past, in the code enforcement fines. We would move those into something that benefits the community. So right now, I just popped that into a new playground for Kirk Parks. We've been talking about that for about a year, that those funds could go toward either rehab the community building or rebuild the community building. I just don't know where everybody wants to go on that, and I am going to try to engage a structural engineer really to take a good look at it to really see what we got. I think we're at least needed, especially if we're going to look at repairs, we need to kind of know what's in front of us, at least get their opinion on it. May not be as bad as it thinks, or maybe worse. I don't know.
Okay.
But definitely would like some input on that.
Got any more on?
That's for now.
I got, on the 2024, year-to-date versus budget, are we gonna go over budget before the year's over with?
So you will see that it's slightly over because we have not done the budget amendments from all the stuff that you have approved, such as the purchase of the butterfly garden, the stage. There's a lot of things on there that were approved, so we're going to do a budget amendment to clean it up. But right now, if you look from line item to line item, every single section we're under, except for because of those couple of capital projects that we added on. And the only other thing that we will be over on, and we're always on every year, is permitting. I always budget a little bit light on that because we know we're going to do a budget amendment because I don't want to over budget it and have it not, and the market falls out. We've all been thinking the real estate market's going to kind of collapse around us for the last 2 years, and it just keeps chugging along. So
So you think it's pretty much gonna be a wash then, very close to?
Oh yeah. It'll balance out the regular budget. If you go and look, especially when I give you every month in your reports with your handbook, every single expenditure is under the percentage of the budget you were at, with the exception of permitting. I believe is the only one.
Well, the total budget for 25 versus 24, looks like a big chunk of that increase is from ad valorem taxes.
Yeah, we had a 27% increase in property taxes, and that's due from all the new construction.
Well, 27% in value. 27% in value.
I think calculate the numbers, you got a 27% increase on the revenue.
Revenue.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, yeah.
yeah, correct.
Just making sure we're not talking about 27% raise in property taxes.
Yeah, oh yeah, we're not raising property taxes.
Since most people in town are.
Yeah.
homesteaders.
Strictly talking budget.
Right.
You're referencing all the houses and.
Yeah, almost the majority of it is from either people that have sold their house and someone moves in that's not no longer homesteaded, or the new construction that's happened at Willow Ridge. Most of that is Willow Ridge. And I expect to see a similar increase next year.
Oh, property values went up
Yeah.
3 or 4 times. Okay.
Public Works, Paul, you've mentioned in the past another part-time employee, full-time employee. Are you feeling we're ready to pull the trigger on that?
So in Public Works right now, we have our Public Works Director, and we have 2 full-time employees that are working. I'm using a temp person about third part of the year for kind of little stuff like power washing, cleaning, and when we get a little bit behind on stuff. At this point, I don't recommend pulling another employee. I think in the future we're probably going to be looking at one. I just need to kind of see, right now we're so busy doing the capital projects, I'd like to see those are going to calm down the parts that we're doing over the next year a little bit. Then I'd like to kind of reassess where we're at, and if we have a need, I'll come before. But water utilities is probably the biggest area I'm going to see the increased need, because we're putting on so many new water accounts with what we're going to be pick up the hills of Montverde. So meter reads, meter replacement, meter checks, rereads, but that will probably be covered through the water billing.
Well, we've had this discussion, I think, in council as a general comment that as much capital projects that are working on, you need to be in the office and not out in the field. No offense. I know that's good to get away from it, but I just didn't want us to get so potentially you're spending more time in the field and less time, and then having to take personal time to play catch up, and which you shouldn't have to do.
Sure.
Yeah,
Definitely balancing it.
Make your load a little easier.
Definitely work balancing that. Mayor, if I would, at your direction from the last meeting, I was able to play with the numbers in the water department and kind of looking from the new houses coming in. And in this budget is including a 10% reduction in usage fees for our residents on the water system. So I think right now we're 555 per thousand. I'm able to take that down to 495 per thousand. So I didn't necessarily go through, line item on everything, but I looked at the general budget where I could be comfortable. We're still getting some growth. We're bringing new accounts on, and a 10% reduction in our citizens' water rates for usage is doable. I feel very comfortable bringing that to you. So that's included in the budget with that reduction. But you'll have to approve it, obviously, through resolution or ordinance.
That's the water service charge.
Correct.
Yeah, so that's year-to-date we're at 401,
Correct.
and, the budget's 525. So 401 divided by what? This was, 5.5 months?
Yeah, we're always a full billing cycle behind. Yeah, in addition, a new thing we have that's kind of starting to help support the water system is now the irrigation meters that we have going out from the sales of water.
So if we average it the last 5.5 months, it's 73,000, so we multiply that by 12. It's 875,000. That's saying for the whole year.
Yeah, I mean, we have times a year where it's high and times of years, rainy season revenues go down because people don't water as much. So that starts to play in.
Yeah, that would be 5.5 months this year, first 3 months. It was cold for a long time, man.
It was.
So, do we take the sandbags a little bit on 550 for next year? It's a little.
As far as being too low or high? That's taken some growth in, and just a seasonal unpredictable. So I kind of I kind of felt pretty good doing the 10%, but I feel like we could kind of revisit it in 6 months and kind of see where we're at because we always have the ability to raise or lower depending on what happens.
Probably need to look at it like September, October.
Yeah.
Because it's trending pretty good.
It's doing very good. Also just got to take into account too, at some point, we really don't have a good reserve and replacement established, and we need to start looking at that in the future. Then just depending on what we need for employees, how that works out too. So I just, I'd rather take some small steps as we do some adjustments and be careful because I don't want to have to take it down and turn around and raise it again. And Mai's keeping a good eye on it for me, the numbers.
I've got two more currently on the water utility services. Paul, do we expect any? We've come down from our bulk water purchase from Oakland on page 9.
Correct.
Do we expect that to stay there at that number, or is that going to potentially go up, or how do you feel on that? Is that budgeted a little
Yeah.
low,
So when I first budgeted, I really didn't know how many houses are going to come on or what that was going to look like.
Yeah.
Now that we still don't have a full year of the houses in there. This year will actually be this year going forward is going to be our first full year. But I definitely, as I told you last year, I want to budget it really high and be on the safe side just to be careful. Now that we have some numbers, I feel more comfortable. The majority of the water goes through irrigation, which we own the private wells in there for the irrigations. That's where most of that revenue is coming from. So it's still a little bit of moving around and playing. We still have a couple more houses to be built out there as well.
Other one was bulk sewer charges to Claremont. We've come up on that. I'm assuming that's, of course, due to the fact that we're still building at Willow Ridge, and
Correct.
we haven't capped out on that yet.
Correct. Yeah, we're going to be bringing more houses online.
Okay.
You've got a line item for irrigation water service charges. I mean, is that separate from?
Are we in revenues or expenditures? I'm sorry.
Under revenues. three of three.
Okay, so the 140,000?
Yes.
Okay, and what was the question on it?
We don't, I mean, what is it?
Oh, so we,
Pass it down, Sandy.
oh, sorry. We do sell irrigation water. So at Willow Ridge and Apaka Sound, the irrigation is all on separate meters. So we
okay.
pull it through the private well, so it's a whole separate billing. So,
Oh, we didn't have it here in town.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, we have, well over 100 homes hooked on irrigation, probably 130 homes now hooked on irrigation services.
It's the same water as potable, just a different meter.
It's not chlorinated and tested like you would your drinking water, so there's a little bit less involved in it. That's why it's a little bit cheaper, but the production costs are pretty well the same. So there's a little savings on the chemicals and the testing and the contract labor on it.
Both of those, is that water that's purchased through Oakland?
No, the irrigation we own. We have the wells on site at both places.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we have a total of 10 irrigation wells that we sell potable water out between the two developments.
In our public safety contractual services with FHPD, I'm assuming that's we've increased due to the fact that we're using them a little bit more, but I'm assuming that it's also for Willow Ridge, they will be included in patrolling through Willow Ridge, or how will that work, Paul?
Yeah, so the highway patrol has gone up $10 an hour since last year. So that's the increase with a little bit more patrols. So that's mainly what you're seeing there.
Okay.
It's just that standard cost of living. We were at 65 an hour, and I was getting down to 2 FHP, so I had to bump it to 75 to kind of get them excited again. They make well over $100 on the turnpike. I think they're like 110 or 15 on the turnpike. And they got to watch movies. So they don't have to work.
Well, I didn't know if we sweetened the refrigerator over there for them a little bit more, to
Yeah.
offset that a little bit, so.
Yeah, so in this current budget, we've gone up from, 140 to 150 for contractual law enforcement services. That's a combination of highway patrol and Lake County Sheriffs. And, one may be higher than the other, they'll get combined, just depends on what the needs are at the time. So we do have services from both in there.
Thank you.
No problem.
Anybody in there? Okay. I have, town council, what did you guys mean by an increase on W-2?
Sure, let me pop to it real quick, Mayor.
Where you at?
So this will be page 1 of the expenditures.
The other way.
Oh, the stipends? Yeah.
It says increase for W-2, it's kind of.
Yeah.
Sure.
He
So,
explained it to me, so it's good.
yeah, so in the past up to recently, we've paid all of our town council members, which you have a set stipend. I believe it's set by ordinance that you guys approved from prior years.
Paying taxes right now.
Yeah, so it was you were 1099 employees. We have switched you over to W-2 employees, kind of following the realm of what all the other cities are doing and the advice of what we're hearing from legal, just because 1099 is really getting by the Department of Labor more defined. You're a contractor, providing X amount of service, and it's getting a little more stringent on it. And as an employee, it gives us, I think, a little more protection for you guys, because we do keep you on workman's comp, so it kind of lets them not fight that if you got hurt while you're here working on an event, or you're at a meeting and, I don't know, the ceiling fell or something. So,
Have you asked about it?
I just thought he was trying to fire us.
Yeah.
Because we were employees, he could fire us, so.
yeah. I think it's more, it's what we're seeing from the IRS. We were only one of the few communities in the area that were left doing. There's a couple more doing them, but you're seeing everybody switch over to the W-2s just because of you're worried about a claim coming against the town.
So why the difference in money?
Because now we pay your Social Security, your Medicare, Medicaid expenses in, so we have to put a part of your salary into that. So that's the increase. What's that?
Do we have a pension too?
And we have to play part of FICA in. No, you don't have the pension. There is an exemption for that, luckily.
It was what? It was 8,000.
Yeah, 8,000.
7,900 up there.
That's like 4 or 5%. This one, how about on accounting audit, you went from 9,500 to 19,500. Did you put it all in one account or something this time?
No, it's spread out on accounts, and mainly we still have the regular audit for the town audit spread out. Right now, what I have in there is, because it's possible we may have more than one single audit next year because of all the grants we have. So, and really that's a stab. She did tell me, 10,000 is what a single audit would approximately run. It's possible we may, I'm not sure if they could squeeze them all in one. I think they can, but they may have to do two.
Is that required on the grant you have?
Anytime you expend over $750,000 in federal funds, you're required to have an individual audit. I believe it's both state statute and federal and condition for audits or grants.
So if we're doing 30 million,
Yeah, so the rule from my understanding, and Maya just went to training on this, so she could grab a mic here and we could, but I would believe that what the rule is, anytime you expend over $750,000 in a single budget year of federal funds, that kicks in the audit. You have anything you want to add?
That's correct. And then I think next year we'll change to a million, but yeah.
all right, so we're gonna spend 35 million. Just like all the time.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter if we spend 20, if you break that 750,000 threshold, or I guess Maya's saying $1 million moving forward, and luckily new training, you get there.
So you don't have to do it right then, you just have to do it that year.
It'll be at the end of the fiscal year. Yeah, correct. And it's actually, when you spend it, as we received 6 million or 7 million in ARPA funds, so we have those funds, but they don't count them as us having the money until we spend the money, even though we're holding the money. That, yeah. But for sure, next year we will. I'm hoping to end this fiscal year, honestly, without breaking that threshold this fiscal year, but we'll see.
The 3,500 for employee meals appreciation, I see it was 25, but we missed, did we spend, I don't even remember spending it.
Yeah, so this last budget, it's been in all the prior budgets. It had an amount, and honestly, if you recall, we switched from the town manager, and I moved that position to all departments, and I just forgot to put that over. So usually I use that those funds is just kind of an appreciation. Once in a while, I'll have a meal or a birthday, little party for the staff, or do something to appreciate them, or take them out occasionally.
Couple cases of beer.
For that.
Anybody else?
No, I had the opportunity to sit down with Paul and he answered all my questions.
I don't wanna do that until I get here.
Give me a hard time. It's good for me.
In the, retirement plan went up quite a bit. I'm not sure what
What
that,
page you on, Joe?
I'm sorry, 3 of 11, the fourth one down, retirement plan, went from 12/6 to 19/4. Just wondering why.
That says 3 of 10. Are we all on the same
We're on page
document here?
we're on page 2 of 10 is what we're on right now.
I'm on 3 of 11.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mine says 3 of 10.
Which one are you on, Mayor?
Expenditures?
Yeah. Not revenue.
How you
It's the only
live?
52 pages. The rest of this is expensive.
Are you on finance, Mayor, or are you on permitting? Where are you at?
Okay, well, the original one I got has got 3 of 11. The one that was on the desk here's got 3, it says 3 of 10.
3 of 10 is the one you
Which
want.
one is correct?
3 of 10.
3 of 10.
I'm using 3 of 11.
3 of 10.
Yeah, this is the old one I'm using, because that's what I did my homework on.
Okay.
I'm on 3 of 11.
Yeah, so we're in permitting, fine
Okay.
permitting,
I'm on there on one
sorry.
too.
I'm
Jim,
sorry,
thank you.
you're right.
So it is page 3 of 10.
I took the new
So
one.
you're in permitting,
We're meeting a few lines down, you see retirement plan of 19,400. Budget
oh, yeah,
25,
yeah.
12,000 moving forward, and 3,500.
Yeah, let me go back and look at that one, because I think I had an auto calculator in there on that one, and that does seem a little high.
And then the other thing was the building official fees, that's our inspector, right?
Correct,
So that's gonna be higher.
correct. Yeah, if you notice, year to date, we're in June, and we're almost at 350 now.
Yeah, that's great.
Yep, so that means we're building, but whatever, this is that category, whatever we spend, there's matching revenue to support it. We spend 700,000, we're gonna have 700,000 in revenue. We always try to make a balance.
So it was 375 year to date to the 350 right now.
Correct,
We're at 32, 225.
correct.
Pretty good. And then you got, yes, that's good. Anybody else got anything to jump in? About, I'm on, this is sort of public works. I'm on 5 of 11, so it's around there. Public works.
5 of 10 for,
For
for the,
everybody else.
Yeah, I'm
Just say page 5.
well, it's page 5 on 11. I'm not sure what it is. Yeah, it's on page 5 of 10.
go ahead, Mayor.
And it's, two things. Contractual services, is that just like a catch-all for that money you put in there?
Yeah, so that's if I just need to hire someone in to do something special, in there, so.
And then,
And we divide that up with other, you'll find that in water, streets, and everything else. So when I do the part-time employees, from the agency, that's usually where it's.
that's a good idea. Good. Machinery and equipment, you just put 25 in there, or do you guys have a plans for that?
Honestly, I don't have anything immediate. Just figure
Yeah,
if something
I'd asked
breaks.
about the small tools and equipment going up 2,000. That's in Shop Harbor Freight.
They break. They break on me.
Yeah.
Cheap tools, they walk off real well.
Yeah, and just so you know, as you see on machinery and equipment, had the 17,000. So this year we purchased that side by side because the Gator's limping on its last leg.
Yeah, Jim brings up something that on my past is who's roughing up. I honestly don't think we use that much at all here. But to do an inventory and number every single thing is a major
The cost, it gets prohibitive.
Huge. It's
What, numbering things, what?
well, like this without number.
You're talking about what, the inventory number.
Yeah.
You go crazy doing inventory numbers. And then getting them off the system.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
Just the only one you don't know.
You're gonna have shrinkage.
yeah. So one thing I've done. One thing I just actually did this past month is the Public Works employee. I bought them their own battery-powered toolkit that has a Sawzall, a circular saw, a drill, and an impact, and wrote their names on everything and checked it out to each of them. And that way when they leave, they return it, or if they lose it, they're responsible to come letting me know, or if it breaks, and that way we mark it off. If not, when they leave, then we'll take it out of their salary. So I bought them that, one nice little kind of ratchet set, and a couple of other things that they keep in their trucks that they're responsible for. Then everything else in the shop is real Harbor Freight for the most part, and so that way, when we're doing something, because a lot of stuff we do, it just gets bent or broken or things along that line. So we're going to try that out and see if that helps a little bit. And it helps them be more productive because they have the tools with them.
Yeah, we're gonna find it somewhere.
That was good.
Anybody else? Okay, we're gonna do 150 on the street sidewalks and infrastructure, right?
Correct. That's what I have in here so far.
See, and I also saw that fuel dropped 500, so he's anticipating fuel costs coming down continuous.
I got smaller engines.
Like the kid.
Well, and when we did the budget
budgets
last
are
year, we were
useless.
pushing $5 a gallon. It was high back in when we were first started on the budget. So, and I've been after the guys to try to be more efficient, with their vehicles, of just not letting them sit there and idle nonstop.
Buying from Costco?
Well, it's not efficient. Send my employee to Costco. Be nice. We do have a diesel tank here now, which we didn't have a year and a half ago. So we fill our equipment here with diesel. Or they used to have to go get 5-gallon jugs a year and a half ago.
The only last thing I have is on the Montverde. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, that's a chunk of change.
That's a chunk.
You see no tree costs. No tree costs this year. Well, you see how much he's dropped, 28,000.
I was talking about light up.
On Out of Montverde?
Yep.
Yeah, so,
Hopefully it's not moldy.
Yeah, we're gonna have some good shows this year.
yeah, so, if you kind of look at last year's budget, we're at 60, and Montverde splits the budget year, so I have to spend a little bit this year. So some of that is money for this year, some of it's for next year. Now we're paying, on average 10 grand for an act. In general, I don't recall the exact number, but it seems like we're bringing close to 45 to 50 something thousand in sponsorships toward that. So the town's outlay is really closer to 20 something, about what we're paying for the event plus staff time, obviously. But yeah, it's an event. Thank you for saying you don't want a taller tree this year.
The bigger stand would work.
Jim, that stand worked good.
Paul, on the page 9 of 10, under water utility services, the internet jumped 3 grand. I'm assuming that's due to the electronic readings and so forth.
Yeah, so that's jumping. We're going to have to, the Hills of Montverde, we're going to get internet service over there or some type of cellular service for our auto reader for the sewer plant we're going to pick up. And I also need to add some telemetry over at Lake Apopka Sound just to kind of watch that irrigation water a little bit when we have problems. We have nothing to tell we're having problems, and it always goes down on the weekend. So I just need, we're going to put a little bit of telemetry in there and some auto dialers in there to kind of help us with that.
Well, Mr. Mayor, if I may do a sidebar here, you mentioned telemetry and going down on weekends. I think you and I have had this discussion about after-hour service calls and who to call on Friday, Saturday when the something happens in the town and you call and you get the recordings. I know you had mentioned that a service is 72 hours plus for a service is not a good expense to use for our taxpayer dollars. Is there any other ways, a dedicated line, I don't know, after our dedicated line, it would go to a pager for you or Chuck or whoever? Because, I mean, a lot of people will tell you, well, I don't know the mayor, I just called the mayor. Well, that's not the mayor's, that's not officially his job to be it, but being a small town, we do that, and it's accepted as part of the business. But is there any way to work around that to make it more efficient to a pager or something, or an after-hour call, instead of, I know you've misheard people call 911 and say, I got a water main, I can't reach anybody, who do I call? And they reach out to you and so forth. But
I've
I
been
was just
encouraging
curious.
them to call the mayor and
Well, it works great for re-elections. I mean, that mayor came out and helped me, man, I tell you. But I just want to, we're getting bigger, and it's
Yeah.
something we kind of need to address. I mean, we're not Mayberry, we use that term, we're not Mayberry anymore, but we need to maybe, I don't know, lack of a better term, step it up a little bit to, I don't know, get a little bit more modern or address that. I mean, that's just my input, thoughts on it.
Sure. So I guess two things. One, now that we finally have 3 employees and Chuck's been working to get them trained, we'll start rotating where we have an employee here on a Friday, which will help, as issues come up, or at least the public works employee. We just been trying to get caught up in these capital projects before we do the switch, but that'll probably happen here next month or two. So I've had, Maya has looked into our new phone system as one, so we have been looking at it. Our new phone system allows us where someone could hit a number and leave a message, and they can send us a text of that message. So that could be a possibility we look into. It may not be the most convenient for the customers because it would have to go press 1 for this and that. And what we find is a lot of the emergencies are, it's water bill related. Occasionally we get the pipe break. I mean, there's definitely less than a dozen a year where it's actually true emergency. So really, our only other course is looking at doing an answering service, and which is a possibility to do that. It's just they're going to field all those other calls of people calling in on Friday and Saturday as well. So definitely open if anybody has some ideas. We can definitely talk about it. I think we're kind of in that in between right now, where we're getting close. We need to do something, but we're still small, where everybody knows your name. And I've gotten calls from Alan. Hey, there's a leak because the council member lives next to him. Our council's good at being out in the community. Then they call me, and we get somebody out there. Most of the time, they don't get a hold of people. Don't get a hold of anybody. They call 911, and 911 has Chuck's number, and they call him immediately when there's an issue, a water break or something like that. They do forward the call. There's a lot of times.
Well, I'm just trying to be.
I've gotten out there. And
I just
Chuck's
want to
been
be
there.
a good steward of the council member to you guys' time too. I mean, there's been times when you're halfway down to Fort Myers or something and turn around, come back because there's something going on that Chuck's off or whatever, and just that kind of thing. So I wanted to be a little bit more fair to our employees and make it equal to them. So that's what my thought was on that.
Yeah, I agree.
Answering service or something.
Yeah,
They're the ones that play, not the-
Yeah, I'll keep looking into it. I think ideally what we want to do is get our phone system where it says if you have an emergency such as a water break, press this number, then that number will send it to the auto dialer. That way we can be clear if it's a water bill or something like that. If you leave a message or call back. So we'll continue. We've started to look in that, and we'll definitely continue to see if we can find a solution to
Well,
that.
you hear from friends in Winter Garden Utility that they'll tell you stories about new construction like Willow Ridge, where the neighbor doesn't know that that's where the water meter runs, and they decide to back their dually over it with a moving van, and all of a sudden the ground's all wet. Wonder why, and these kind of things that you hear about. So
Your neighbor had me up at 2 in the morning.
yeah.
They did that. I learned more about this town's water system at 2 in the morning than I ever learned.
Well, I know.
It's always on the weekend when it breaks too, isn't it?
Well, one of the other things was that a spinoff on that is that since we're having the town surveyed, we're finding, and you think it's positive that one of the benefits that came out of that is that we know where everything is, where all the meters and the mains are that we didn't know for years, and where we thought wasn't there, and so that'll make things a lot easier too, and especially when it goes to a programmable where you can pull it up and it's there. We know.
Correct.
Pretty much, yeah. That'll eliminate a lot of that. So, just a thought going forward. So. Y'all are looking at me like I'm Santa Claus or something. I don't know. Just,
Good points. I guess we can move on to the CRA.
Sure. Then, as we continue to work on the budget, if you have other thoughts or questions, please come visit with me, and we'll start kind of putting the budget in a more formal presentation together. And from what I heard, I didn't see anything here too major that we couldn't move forward with, kind of starting to get it presentable. This is just a workshop on it, and so we'll have to have 2 meetings in September. I wish we could. No, we got to do the whole advertisement beforehand, 5 days beforehand and all that kind of thing.
across the board, Paul, what was the employee benefit package increase salary-wise?
So
Was there-
as we talked in that last workshop, I kept everything at 5.5%. Part of that being merit, part of it being just cost of living. I think it was 1.3 and 1.5.
Okay.
Okay.
You
Sure. I'm going to go ahead and have Mr. Parks kind of open up, kind of bring in the discussion a little bit. I believe he gave everybody a handout, then I'll kind of jump in and let you kind of know.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. Well, good evening, everyone, and I'm happy to present to you today a fact sheet on Community Redevelopment Agency. This is sort of just the facts. I want to thank Anita. She took a look at this as well and has provided some input. This is being brought to you because it's very appropriate tonight. I think that you're talking about this as a concept when you're looking and examining your ultimate policy statement each year, your budget. and you're looking at revenues, and you're talking about, economically what you can do for the town, how you're going to continue to do the great work that you're doing here. And this community redevelopment agency is certainly a tool that you have, if you choose to move forward with it, to I call it redirect some of the tax revenues back to a very specific part of your town where those funds could be spent to make improvements. So it's certainly in a category of a revenue generator. It's a tax increment finance structure. We've talked about this once or twice, at least in my career. The mayor remembers this. I know Anita does, where we did some presentations. I don't know how many years ago it was, but yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah.
There was some interest back then, but we didn't move forward. So this is being brought to you tonight. Really appreciate the opportunity to do this. We'll start with the facts. We can answer any kind of questions that you have about CRA. I think we certainly believe, we've talked about it internally, the manager, Paul and Anita and I, and believe it really could be of a benefit to the town if you choose to move forward with it. If you don't, there are some, maybe you have reasons why. We can certainly vet those as we go through this process, and that's okay too. So that's just sort of the introduction. There's a sheet here. I can go through it if you'd like to, line by line if you want. I don't want to, or kind of generally speaking. Paul, maybe you want to
Sure.
jump in if there's anything else. And if you know what a CRA, if you don't know what a CRA is, it's fine. It's okay. That's what we do is we start talking about it tonight, and we'll get all your questions answered.
Yeah, let me give you a kind of a nutshell. I'm going to kind of jump to the end and tell you why we're discussing this and kind of what the end result. Maya, if you could forward to that slide I have that has the graph. So this is a way to basically do tax increment financing, if you've ever heard that term. And I put this little slide together to kind of give you a thought of how a CRA works. So you look at a CRA area, and for the purpose of this discussion, let's say it's Franklin Pond. And I'm going to have Anita, please correct me. I won't be embarrassed if I say something incorrect. I want to make sure I'm giving good information. So it's a little bit different in Florida than it is in some other areas. So under a CRA, so let's say we take the Franklin Pond area, and they're currently today in 2024, they're paying property taxes at a rate of $150,000 per year. That's what they're paying today. When you set up your CRA, you set, that is your, what's called your baseline property value. So we look at that in today's dollars, and every single year, property taxes for that area go up. So it could be from new construction, it could be from increase in property values, add-ons, things along that line. So it's called an increment. Every year it incrementally grows. So when you look at, say, 6 years down the road, this same area is paying $250,000 in property taxes. So your tax increment portion of that is there's $100,000 difference from where you started today from where you are 5 years from now. So that $100,000 you can capture and utilize that for projects in the CRA. Not only can you capture it from city dollars, property taxes, you capture it from the county tax dollars. So basically you more than double your tax dollars because the county tax rate's much higher than the cities because we're low. And you get to utilize those for improvements in the CRA.
You capture the money beforehand?
So say that $150,000, and it's a small number. I'm just using that as a small example. That includes county property taxes, city taxes. There's some taxes are excluded, such as schools, and certain districts are excluded, but definitely county taxes are included in city. And if it was 150, a combination, let's just say Lake County and Montverde taxes were 150, they grow to 250, we get to capture the difference of that. 40,000 of that likely would be Montverde's property taxes. The other 60,000 would be the county property tax.
When? Now? Or
Every single year as it grows. Eventually, you have to spend it eventually, but yes, it's put into a special fund to be used for projects that are approved by the CRA or within the CRA plan.
You're in there and you're paying $10, and then you want to, I was thinking, you're pulling out all of that. So that's a disadvantage for the rest of us.
So it would increase the amount of revenue probably, I would think significantly, probably by 60% or so, that you would see for that area that you would choose for the CRA. So there's a process where you look at the area, it has to be blighted, lack of utilities, storm, adequate roads, drains are all part of that blight process. It could be a fairly large area of Montverde, it could be a small area of Montverde. It just depends on what you want to do. Then there's different things you can utilize it for, from building of parks, purchase of land, some of these projects we've done down here, if it was in our CRA, we should have been able to fund it with that CRA dollars. So our biggest benefit, it helps us capture county taxes in the future for a period of time.
Well, that would be my big question, is what in Montverde that we would need this for that is in such bad shape, I guess.
Sure. So here's an example. We just built a new stage. We need to build a new community building. We need to build new playgrounds. We need to expand our road systems. I think all these are eligible uses. Tell me if I'm wrong. Yep. If we need to expand or improve a road system, put sewer lines in, upgrade water system lines, install sidewalks. The list could go on, as long as it's a part of your CRA plan. It's a way to fund the projects and get things done using some county monies.
Yeah, you could even do facade grants, like the City of Claremont does for a business that is coming in to, relocate or set up a new business. You can
Improve
do
downtown.
facade grants. Yeah,
Yep.
facade grants. Yeah.
So really, we get to keep the county money, because we're keeping our own money out of it.
That's what it comes down to.
You keep above the base. Like the county, if you started today, the county's going to keep today. You get to keep from what grows beyond today.
Yeah.
It
Yes.
goes up 50,000 in 6 years, if the residents are paying the county, we have that.
We get it back.
Yeah.
I think
They will
Yeah.
issue a check back. So they still collect all the monies, just like they typically do. And then there's a period in time that the county, during their fiscal year, sends funds back to the towns.
And I see it in the budget, just on the commissioner side, I see that in the budget. It's one of the funds, and then I
Yep.
see it going back out.
So Mineola, CRA, Groveland, CRA, Howie and Hills, CRA,
Parks.
Claremont, CRA, Fruitland Park, probably Montverde, Lake County City, only no CRA more than likely. I mean, maybe Umatilla or one of them don't, but I think Umatilla has one too.
Could-
We'd be silly not to, because we have an opportunity to get the county money back.
And that money's not tied to any particular use, right? It's the town's discretion?
It has to be
Well-
within your
Yeah.
plan, which your plan has to be approved. First step, of course, is the finding of necessity, but then you do a plan, and then you do have to be pretty tight, and the expenditures have to be with what you put in your plan. You can change the plan, by the way, so you just, you might have to change it 1 year. But yeah, it has to follow in line with your plan. And you, by the way, would act as the CRA board. So you kind of like in the old days when you had the local planning agency, and you remember you'd have to make a recommendation back to yourself. Well, you'd be kind of doing the same thing here, unless you wanted to expand a CRA board or have a whole different group of 5 to 7 people.
It is fairly broad what you can use the money for, but as Mr. Park said, it has to be what's in the plan. So your plan can be fairly broad, but for us, we would park improvements and sidewalks improvement. The things we know that we would like to spend money on.
In a certain area, we're in the whole section.
Yeah.
We're in the whole,
Whatever the area you designate the CRA to be.
so what if we designated the whole thing?
You would have difficulty in
Yeah.
some of the areas designating that because it's not blighted. It won't meet that statutory definition. So
Yeah.
like Willow Ridge, Mag Terrace, some of the subdivisions you would have to exclude.
Okay.
Some of your older
Yeah.
ones you could because of infrastructure
Issues.
issues.
So you have to be somewhat depressed.
Well,
Well, it's not,
there's some other reasons you can do it. TIF gets TIF structures get a lot of leeway in Florida. There's they use a lot of different versions of the CRA over in places in Orlando with tourism districts and things. But if you tie it back to some specific purpose for the town that's constructive, it doesn't have to be just a blighted situation.
Could you use that, Joe mentioned this, and we were talking about the sewer, spend the whole money to hook everything else, or it was discussed, well, you promised us free hookups. Could that be used in a certain area to say, hey, we're going to, these houses in section 3 or 4 or 5 of the sewer treatment plant hookup, can they be used to hook up residents onto that
You
sewer?
can definitely use it for utility line. I would have to look at the actual hookup cost, whether
Okay.
that's something you could expend or not, I'm not sure.
And I would be very careful because you will go through money fast doing that.
Yeah.
Because
Well, that was a discussion that we've had, and I know
Yeah.
Joe had mentioned that about, do the whole town and then charge people to hook up, and it was like, you
I mean,
promised us.
we could make the
Yeah.
plan as broad as possible. And jumping back to the last question, just logically looking at it, what I haven't, you wouldn't want to do the whole town because we need some of that increment finance to fund general operations to
Right.
somewhat. So you would kind of cut yourself off a little bit because there's a lot of things you can't use those funds for. So you wouldn't necessarily want to do the whole town because then you set a baseline. And we know every year, I mean, employees, for instance, you got to give raises and increases to keep employees. Logically looking, the downtown and this side of the school seems like a very logical place to look at because we have streets that are substandard everywhere. We have storm systems that are substandard everywhere. Obviously, water sewer lines are undersized on this side of town and kind of up 455. So we could really look at this half of the town as being the project area per se. We'd have to kind of look a little bit at some of the subdivisions like Long Ridge and that, but it probably would still fit for that.
You like look at and say, okay, hey, it's downtown, right? And then we see how much they paid, probably only paid the county last year. And then see what they paid in the previous 5 years. And see what they would have generated if we had it in place to get an idea how much money we can get.
Most definitely. So what we'll do is we'll go back. Let's look back to if we established this 10 years ago, and we'll do a graph showing you from 10 years ago today of what it would be bringing in if you did establish this 10 years ago. We'll look at this whole, not necessarily the downtown because we're gonna have to take in some of the residential areas, but we'll kind of look at this. I would call it the Franklin Pond and kind of on this side of the school. We'll look at everything on this side of the school. Yeah. Yeah. But off the top of my cuff, I assume like in today's world we would be getting a check for a couple $100,000 every year. I think so.
Right, well, the county CRA is approved. The county collects the money, refunds it back to us on a yearly basis.
Yep.
Does that money have to be spent that year?
No.
No, you have, I think it is,
4 years.
Yeah.
You have 4 years to
4 years?
spend it, but you have to, I think it's, you,
the life of the CRA is 2020,
but
yeah.
you have to appropriate it. So like, if you have your budget for the CRA and it's $200,000 budget, and then you don't expend some of it, when you carry it over, you have to apply it in the next year's budget for a project. You can't like just keep carrying over undesignated funds.
Yeah.
Right. So, just like a regular budget is set up.
But if you
It's
have a
separate
big
budget.
project that you need to run, like really make a new road or something that's gonna cost more, then you can carry it over beyond the 4 years, but you have to be designating it, saving up the money for this big project to occur.
So kind of like an impact fee, you've got 4 years to use it, or in a sense, correct?
Yeah.
Who creates the CRA?
We'll put that together as your team.
Yeah, it's on your fact sheet, but it starts with a finding of necessity. And then if you would have to vote to create the CRA and the structure, how it's set up, and then you have to write a plan, and then you have to approve the plan, and then the CRA board is then enacted.
Any idea what this is gonna cost to create it?
I don't think it'll be too much. We've done it in the past. I mean, Anita and I have done it.
Are we
So.
talking $10,000 or $250,000?
Oh, it'll be under 10.
Where's that budget? I'm kidding now.
It would be under 10.
We're talking handling fees.
No shipping and handling fees.
So a good example to look at, just as food for thought, is Mineola back in the day when things were really depressed when the economy wasn't going, they actually have Sugarloaf Mountain included in their CRA. And now they have from zero revenues, that was almost their baseline, you know, a couple $1,000 to hundreds of $1,000s. So they're collecting the county taxes on all those homes that are built on Sugarloaf. And I think it includes a lot more than Sugarloaf. It's like
Well,
that.
so Mineola has the largest CRA in the county, and, you know, CRAs can be a sticking point with the county. This case is going to probably go over very well because you, for one instance, turned the fire department over. One of the big concern at the county is that we lose revenue when more and more annexation comes from the fire service, not from general fund. But because you switch that's all looked very favorably.
But
Mineola,
Mineola, go back to Mineola there.
yeah, was not that was the opposite. So it's large.
That was exception, not the
Yeah.
rule.
Yeah, very large. So
So I think Mineola is sitting on millions of dollars right now in CRA funds, and they're desperately trying to, they can't figure out how to spend it right now.
We're trying to buy that 300 acres, put it in an RSPA with the CRA.
Yeah.
which ended up being so much money, not even that CRA could pay for it.
Yeah.
But
But,
I know.
yeah,
That's
so,
true.
so that means they had 8 million in CRA money to play with from 10 years ago.
Right.
I mean, we're not that big, but
Yeah. No.
What if we want to do a project, you know, sidewalk, all the way up to 450?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Do we have to do it as we get the money, or can we spend the money and then the CRA pays it back?
Loans to the CRA. I don't know that there's a prohibition on that. You just have to keep up accounting wise.
You think it'd be okay?
I think we've done that at the county. With one of the only CRAs we have is in Mount Plymouth, Serona, and I think we did do exactly as she said.
but that sidewalk would have to be
Yeah.
in the CRA district.
Right.
So in the bubble.
If we wanted to do it right
Mhm.
now, we would do it and get paid back.
Yeah, correct. Once the CRA is established, correct.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right, Mayor.
Yeah, Paul, with all that you and the staff have going on, when are you gonna have time to compose the CRA?
We'll get her done.
You know, I hate to be the negative bully. Well, not really. Okay, somebody's getting fleeced.
Not really.
Yeah, it's the homeowner.
No.
All right, your homeowner association goes up 28% this year, right?
Yeah.
So instead of, now we're doing it where we bring it in and we're gonna get it kicked back to us. I hate to use the word kickback, but I'm trying, this is kind of like the insurance, where they used to sell you life insurance, in which you put it, and you get a fund developed and all this other stuff besides the life insurance, and then you can cash it in. I know somebody's paying, and I think I know who the somebody is.
I don't think you're following it right, because it doesn't affect the homeowner's property taxes whatsoever.
I understand, but it could.
No.
I mean, it could be,
Well, it could increase their property values. I guess that would be the,
and it only works when you're in a state of inflation and in a state of growth.
Could be stagnant if you want.
Huh?
It would be
Yeah,
not,
right.
so you wouldn't be making it.
Wouldn't be making any money. If we're a suburb of Detroit, we wouldn't even be talking about it. Homeowner prices in Crawford.
They're wrong, man.
Huh?
The benefit is though that instead of the county spending the money, you get to keep that share that your taxpayers have paid to the county, and you get to keep it here in Montverde and spend it.
It's like us giving the Boy Scouts.
Well, I hate to use the word fleeced, but somebody's paying, right?
Well, it's gonna be paid either way. The resident's
Right.
gonna pay $10 no matter what. If they pay $12 next year, we keep that $2 and the county doesn't get, but they're still gonna.
yeah, it's kind of like when we take federal grants, is, yes, our taxpayers are paying those taxes in, but we're grabbing that money and saying, here, this is for Montverde, but if we don't grab it, that federal agency uses it on something else. So we're trying to keep our taxpayers at home where our council knows our citizens and what our needs are, because the money we're paying to the county doesn't necessarily always come back to Montverde. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't.
Somebody's getting fleeced, it's probably the county.
So, well, it's, yeah, I mean, I guess you could make that argument if the
Yeah.
county does, but, I mean, in this case, again, I think what you're proposing is very reasonable, and would make sense to do it. It's not like some of the other CRAs that I've seen that are pretty crazy.
It does. Not against it.
Yeah.
I'm simply saying somebody pays.
Well, my,
And the same thing with the sales tax rebate they give us every year. And that brings in us paying the sales tax, the state takes it in, and the state gives it some of it back. So, I mean, it's similar.
so, let me ask this. Prior to us being involved, all of Lake County, okay, certain municipalities and cities are in the CRA. We're not. So our share was going into kitty that they could get, or they were restricted only to their CRA. So Umatilla doesn't get to take a little from us, and Tavares gets from us and
Yeah.
from the county, and so, okay.
No.
So we've basically been forever not getting a benefit. We pay in, but we don't get out.
Yeah, so every year, property taxes go up or new homes are built. That money has been going to the county, so what we're saying is every year now, as property taxes go up, homes get built, that money stays in the CRA for the town council to determine that increase, determine how it's going to be used. The
So-
benefit for the county, if you look at that last right section of the graph, is you're investing in the CRA, you're investing in the area, so somewhere down the road, in theory, property values should go up because you're putting sidewalks in, you're providing services, things like that, enhancing the community. And 20 years from now, then the county gets a bigger chunk of property taxes because we invested it and it's not blighted or, goes downward. That's the theory.
But the other side of the coin is that when Lake County couldn't afford to pave roads in the county, if we had bad roads, we wouldn't be able to get county money to fix our roads. We'd automatically have the CRA money ourselves. So, correct?
Yeah, you'll have the additional CRA money, to spend on that. Yeah.
I know,
I
like
get-
the Sugarloaf Mountain project, that didn't go forward because didn't have the money to widen 455 and improve 455, so that kind of, with the economy and everything else, it's been sitting and sitting and sitting, whereas 455 comes into Montverde and we've got a bad section of 455. Theoretically, if it was our road, we could pave it or fix it, correct? Yeah, okay.
So again, this would be like if you have just the 1 square mile and you have, in year one, or year zero, we'll call it, there's 10 taxing units. I'm just going to keep it really basic. So the 10 goes to the county, just from the county tax, okay? Then year one, let's say you get it, you're going to get, things have gone up and you get 12 taxing units out of that same area. The 2, instead of going to the difference between 10 and 12 is 2, right? So that 2 automatically gets sent to your CRA. Year 2 or 3, maybe it's 14 and then 16, and you keep adding you're summing up all the differential to 10 year after year, and you see how that accumulates. It's not that you're increasing the tax rate. That would be still up to both the county and your general fund. It's just that percentage above the county's general fund.
You agree with you. I also agree with the fact that we get something back.
Yes.
Right now, we don't. We get something back. That's a good idea. Except remember, this is kind of like income tax, creeping income tax brackets. And it keeps going up and up with the creeping as salaries and inflation goes up. And so I'm not against it. I'm simply saying what it is, my opinion.
Yeah.
If we keep it $10 this year and next year it's 12 and we keep it 2, every year the county's gonna be getting less money. So they're gonna have to raise their rates to do whatever they need.
Well, that is an argument, but fortunately it's a big county and there's not, if everybody did a CRA, that could become a problem.
Hey, Mayor.
Yeah.
County get out of it.
Yeah, what does the county
Hey, Mayor. I apologize. I'm getting a text. They can't hear your audio on the recording.
Yeah.
So I apologize for that.
Well, I think what the county gets out of it would be, in an area where a CRA makes sense, which I think it does in Montverde, you get sort of what Paul said. You're getting kind of a better quality of life. I mean, you're putting money back in.
We are.
You are, yeah. But what happens to a city also is good for the county. I mean, You're gonna
Okay.
get more sales tax, which is benefits the county.
I would have
You-
to follow that. I would have to follow the money
Yeah.
to understand
I'm
that
still
better.
wrapping my head around the advantages of some of, one side of this party's here.
And hey, I love that you're vetting both sides of it because, you know, sitting as a commissioner, I get it. So I appreciate that. But it does benefit you in the sense that
yeah,
it's
of
money that
course.
stays here. Yeah,
We'd be stupid not to do it,
I think so.
but
Yeah.
it's just a struggle to understand it a little bit.
Yeah.
So does this need to be voted on?
I don't know.
No, it's just a discussion item. If it's something you guys are interested in pursuing, we'll definitely kind of maybe do some more, get you some more information, I
More
think.
detail.
Yeah.
The question is, why wouldn't we?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
And we'll
Why
get, some-
wouldn't we?
All right.
From our point of view.
yeah, we'll bring
Exactly.
some numbers to you.
So we're going to write it, we get 60 and the county gets 40?
I'm an opportunist,
It's
guys.
the
I'm
numbers,
ready
it's
to-
numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, why don't we just authorize you to prepare
Just
CRA
out of
documents?
curiosity, what is TIF, what does that stand for?
It stands for tax increment financing.
Yep.
So,
TIF structure.
yep. They're used all over the country, everywhere, usually downtown,
Of
major
course we would
projects.
do it.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys, I mean, we definitely, it would take us some time to get some documents, so if you guys are interested enough, we could start working on preparing and bring you more information as we prepare, if you want to go that route, if you're ready for us
Oh,
to.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, we want the state to be put in the ground as soon as possible with the county, right? We want the state, and then for anything there
On our way
forward,
back.
we would get
so
the money.
So you're probably not going to have it done. The county commission's going to set all the property values, property taxes, and the property appraiser's already established the property values, right? So it wouldn't be this year, it'd probably be, you would have set it up, and it would take effect next year.
Okay.
Can this
So
be
it's no rush.
retroactive?
No retroactive.
Right, it's no-
But all the more important reason why you want to start on it now. So you want to have plenty of time. so
Well, I just
that-
wanted to go back, Montverde was settled, and, you know, and can we go back to settle date and go forward?
I would say we authorize them to proceed.
Absolutely. Yep.
Any input from them?
Yeah, I mean,
Everybody good with
it's
that?
like turning down money.
You okay with that?
Yeah, I mean, one would hope that, kind of like what's been pointed out, that money's coming basically out of the county pocket, so if the county doesn't generate enough revenue for it, then they increase the property taxes to cover the difference. You know,
For
so
all the
like-
places that are getting the CRA.
Well, I can
No,
tell
I
you,
feel
again,
like too.
speaking from sitting on the county side, obviously, this would not be it's not a large one, and it's not one
Yeah.
that's like some of the others that we've seen that we actually are discussing as problematic at the county commission.
Mineola.
This is one that would, maybe,
The difference is
maybe
just
another city up north.
problematic is just in size.
Well, just that, wow, you're taking all this, and then we're trying to provide service, and yeah, some of the same issues that you're talking about. Yeah, and in those cases, we're looking at a revenue sharing kind of idea with them, with one or two of the cities, but this would be more of the true meaning and pure CRA in a sense. I mean, it's smaller, it really makes sense. It's not like some of the other ones that we've seen that are problematic.
And we're a lot smaller.
And it's a lot, yeah, I mean, it's,
A lot less
yes,
money, yeah.
it's a
Yeah, but
smaller,
a few bucks here and a few bucks there, you got a sidewalk big.
Yeah.
you do, yeah.
All right. Well,
And just some real quick
Yep.
back of the hand math. I was looking at actually our budget. You can see in 2019 our taxes from property taxes was 249,000, and we're now at 591. The mills rate for the county is 5.8,
5.1.
5.1. So a little more than double, or not quite double of what we have. So if you kind of look at that increase of what we went up to, and if we were frozen back in their time, just off the, just playing with math, if we would have done this back in 18 and went into effect in 19, I'm showing about $180,000 to $200,000 a year, just ballparking it, true, just ballpark, just playing it in my head. So that we would be collecting if we did a third of the town.
Do you play good ball in your head?
Yes. Try to. All right.
All righty.
Public comment?
Oh, sure. You guys want to comment on this?
Oh, I'm sorry, real quick. Sandy, could you turn on the mic there, or there's a little button there on the back?
So
There you go.
Matthew Bauman, 1122 Imperial Eagle Street. I actually sit on the CRA board in Groveland, and I was there, I think, when they established it 15-ish years ago. So it is something that takes some time to get started, but some of the projects they're working on now is building a brand new community center for $1+ million in Groveland to help one of the more, one of the parts of the city that's always been most difficult and blighted, and they're really starting to bring that side of the city up. They've redone a lot of the downtown district, put in sidewalks, landscaping, light poles. That's a project that's ongoing right now, and they're actually using it to help expand some of their trails projects too. But initially when it started, they were just doing like little $5,000 facade grants here and there, but over time, you can really see the difference that it has. So I think it is a good thing for Montverde. I think long term, it will definitely benefit the city and help improve the quality of life here as well.
Oh, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bring home the bacon.
All right. All right. You guys want to go on to our next topic? What is that? Oh, the irrigation water plan. Oh, come on up. Come on up.
Joe Morganelli, Highland Avenue. So my question I have is, this is great on an uptrend. What's, when it goes to a down, if we go to a downtrend?
It just stalls, right?
Yeah, it just falls, and you would not get anything a certain year. No.
Yeah, we don't lose anything.
Yeah, it's all upside, you know.
Unless the county lowers their taxes.
Anybody remember a tape when that happened?
We did, actually, 3 years in a row.
Yeah, they roll back every year.
Yeah, and during the Great Recession, we rolled back. Not only did we roll back, but we doubled down and went past that. And of course, then there was the increase because it had gotten dropped so low. But yeah, believe it or not, it has.
Yeah.
The good times are always going to be here.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else just goes up and up and up.
Let's stay in our sweet spot.
Yep, build what we can.
All righty. Let's do the irrigation water.
So council, we've had some discussion about possible irrigation water in the future, and wheels have been turning, conversations have been going, so I want to throw something creative by you that still needs a little bit of more, I guess, digging into with myself and our town attorney, so I'm going to preface with that. The hills of Montverde, if you recall, they're in the county, adjacent to the city. They're building 91 homes there on their 25 acres. They are in our 180 district. They are required to utilize us for their water and their sewer system. We signed an agreement a little over a year and a half ago that they were going to build their own water system there, water tank, water wells, everything on site. And they were going to build their own sewer plant, and then they would turn the full operations, the land, and the water facilities over to the town for operation. So they are currently, they did this because they felt like they didn't want to pay our town impact fees at the time.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
They didn't want to pay our town water impact fees at the time, and just kind of more just, you know, there was a little bit of angst back and forth. So our impact. It was
ugly.
It was ugly. Yeah, I'm being the town manager. So at the time, the cost for those water impact fees were about $500,000 in that ballpark. So they've started and have gone under contract to have a 88,700 gallon storage tank built on the facility, and they've already contracted that with the contractor. The tank is already built, and so far they are in it at $842,000, and they are finding cost of everything is more expensive, and one of the things they're required to do is obviously hook to our telemetry with our water plant so everything can communicate as we need to. There's some valves that got hooked in, and long story short, I was meeting with them, and just like, you know, made the comment, you should have hooked into our water system, it would have been cheaper. And they're like, well, how much cheaper? And, you know, so we've been negotiating back and forth, and so I want to throw this out to you guys and as a possibility. We know in the future we need some water storage, whether we get that water from Lake Apopka or some other places or from stormwater runoff. They've tested the water at the site using our line that we have out there by Fosgate, and they were able to get fire flows on all but one meter or one fire hydrant, and so they can do something to do that. So we're having a discussion about them assigning the contract to us for the water tank, and we talked to the contractor to build the water tank, and they're willing to let that be assigned and be built somewhere else, i.e. right here by the park. And so we could possibly use that for future irrigation water, and we would give them some impact fee credits for that. However, not the whole thing. So what we've talked about is them assigning that $842,000 contract to us to build the water tank where we desire to have it. Then they would also pay $200,000 to the town in water impact fees, in addition to the $842,000 transfer of the water tank.
So we're missing 300, but we're getting 842.
Yeah, so they'll be out of about $1.1 million on
Did
there.
you already say they had already built the plant?
No.
No, they contracted everything, and everything's sitting on the ground ready to be built.
So they have to build it somewhere. So they're willing to build it, if we agree to this, wherever we think it should go, and it's $842,000 piece. We would have collected $500,000 on water impact fees had they not done this. They're still willing to pay us $200,000 in water impact fees, but we're getting an $842,000 water tank system we could use anywhere we want.
And
Don't we have to run the line out to the property?
so, hang on. Let me top on what the mayor was saying
Okay.
real quick, and let me answer that question. So as we move this water tank and put it where we could utilize it, and also includes 350 horsepower pumps. It's just not the tank; it's the concrete tank and the pad. We will have some expense on getting the pad prep ready and the small building for the pumps. Going back to the irrigation piece, as we use this, I met with the Woodward and Kern, our engineers, and they said this would more than likely open the floodgates, hopefully for us to get a grant, because now we have this big water tank sitting here for reuse water, and we don't have any water going to it. So it really would open up the door for that and also help us with our CUP. So with that said is when we already have a line going to them and they're already tied into it because we had to interconnect with them. So they already paid the cost to hook it in. So it's just a matter of them, where they're at is it's going to cost them $200,000 basically to finish the system at least, and that's kind of where we're at with the price. Plus, they are going to have the cost of the startup and everything involved of getting things switched to the town, which so they're going to have some engineering and tons of time. They got DEP clearances they got to go through, so it just slows them down.
When they were doing Willow Ridge was before this one got going. So Paul had Willow Ridge put the water pipe right there and just close it. So that could just be hooked up later.
Yep.
Which was a smart idea.
So the water line went down the dirt road all the way to the property?
No, through
It goes through Willow.
Willow Ridge.
It goes through Willow.
It already goes
Then
through
it goes to
Willow
the
Ridge
property
to
line.
them.
Yep.
And
And
the
the
big
beauty
pipe.
of this, it doesn't hurt our water capacity at all because we just got $13 million in grant money to build another tower, so we got a lot of water.
Yeah.
Or we'll have, we're still good, but we still will have a lot of water to.
Some still have to be, the line in the Willow Ridge can handle the capacity needed for this development?
We ran a 16-inch to Willow Ridge,
Yeah.
and so it's 8 going through there,
It's all
so.
the way to the back of the property, so they're
Mhm.
easily accessible?
Oh, yeah, it's everywhere. It's all in easements and right-of-ways.
Yeah.
Yep. So the thought is where our pneumatic tank is, kind of behind the fence there in that area, we would just have them come construct the water tank there. The town's probably, again, we're gonna probably have about $150,000 expense before it's over with. It'll kind of be a wash with the impact fees.
Right.
The impact fees are a separate fund, I'll be clear about that, but, we'll have to use some water funds for
We
that.
still get connection fees.
Yes.
Right.
Well, yeah, they're,
Each home gets connected, right?
yeah, they just pay their admin fees. The agreement with them is they install all their own meters, all everything. So
That's
the town
fine,
doesn't even
yeah.
worry about that.
That's fine.
So Paul, construct our new water tower? You're not moving it.
No,
This is
no,
that
this,
tank
this,
well.
this is completely separate. So this will be used for reuse water if we do
I
this.
got you.
Probably.
And where's the location again?
And next to this tank.
Yeah, we would put it next to this tank. It's a ground storage tank, not an
By your
elevated
house.
storage. It's built on the ground.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's behind the bamboos where we put it. The new bamboo.
That bamboo?
The new bamboo.
New bamboo.
Oh,
That way.
oh dear.
Yeah. So the thought is that we could bring a line from Lake Apopka down for reuse water, and maybe blend it with some storm water off those two new metal buildings that we have. And, then start using that for reuse water for the park, and maybe someday expand that out to the community if grants can become available. 'Cause it does put us in a nice competitive position for grant money.
How many homes would that irrigate? Do you have any idea?
No. 88,000 tank.
Yeah, it's an 85,000 gallon tank. I mean, it would do several hundred homes for irrigation.
Yeah.
The storage of what you need for potable is for fire flows, and because you have to do 1,250 gallons a minute over a 2-hour period to get fire flow. So that's how that tank is sized. For irrigation, that's all. I mean, you could do this whole part of town with that much water because you're going to be flowing into it as you're pumping it.
I kind of was waiting to talk to Anita about it and see how she feels about it, and could it be written up to protect us?
I think it's a good idea. I mean, ideally, they would have connected to your system from the beginning, and that's how Willow Ridge was planned for that connection. And it just didn't happen that way, but I think this is a very good plan to move forward with.
So it's kind of an opportunity.
I agree, yes.
And legally, we could write it up where these guys couldn't mess with us.
Right, yeah. We would have to amend the utility agreement that we have.
Yeah, and they would do an assignment of the contract from the contractor to the town.
So what would be the cost of the town?
Yeah, I mean, we probably would have at least 150,000 into it because we gotta build a pad out there, a level site pad. The concrete's included, the building of the tank and everything that's included with the tank and the thing. So we would have the building and the electrical to get to there. And it's
But
probably,
remember, we're getting 200 grand in impact fees that we wouldn't get.
yeah,
So it'll be a wash.
it's gonna be a wash. Yeah.
And they know that.
They sure put a lot of 25 acres.
Yeah.
I mean, is there any drawback to this at all that you can see?
I can't see one.
This has been I think this is a win-win. It helps us with our CUP. It helps us with future grants.
It's
It
all-
helps us with additional water revenue. And here's the beauty of it, the town doesn't have to run a completely separate water system that's further away from town. Now we're still centralized and it's a line and not a water system. So to me, there's thousands of dollars a year in savings right there in public works employees and time and everything involved.
Yeah, it's a home run.
Sounds good.
What do we need to do with this group right now?
Just if we have a consensus that you want to move forward, we'll work on the agreements.
I'm all for it.
I'm all for it.
Okay.
You have your
Okay.
consensus?
Thank you.
So depending, they may be time sensitive, so we'll do our best to get that done because they're getting kind of crunched to get everything assigned. So we'll get that rolling. We may have to do a special meeting in the near future for that, so.
So I'm assuming, Paul, that'll be about, from what tanks are, metal tanks, 20,000, 50,000, that will be about a, what, 40-foot diameter, 40 to 60, if even that.
Yeah, I think it's 17 foot tall and 40, yeah, probably 40-ish.
Ultimately, this is gonna save the developer money also? Is that why he's doing this?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
A 17-foot tall tank in front of your yard?
It's kind of, they got into it and, yeah. Well, when the developer came, they were, they didn't want to pay the impact fees because they said we can build the whole water system for $250,000. So, and that's why, and they're $850 into it and like, coming back.
This house prices just went up.
But I'll be clear, the developer back then is not these people here today. They got assigned the contract. They're, the developer, gave everything to them and said, here you go. So there's a little bit different people involved in a different construction crew. So, I'm holding nothing against them. That's why it's a good opportunity to work with them and find opportunities for the town. Anytime a $1 million opportunity comes knocking at the town, it's a good thing. So
Yeah.
I mean, aesthetically, it's not gonna look bad, right?
No.
it'll be behind the bamboo.
Yeah. Well, the bamboo's growing.
Yeah, is the bamboo do going back there?
It's growing.
Okay.
Now we got a water tank to make it grow quicker, see?
If you haven't been back on Carroll Street, our staff, our public works moved the bamboo from the old stage to block the public works area from Lakeside back there, so it looks much,
It'll fill in, I know.
it looks much better, I think.
Is it gonna live?
Huh?
Is it gonna live?
I think so. I think it's doing okay.
You already used Franklin Pond as that example, okay?
Use it as an example, Franklin Pond.
Yeah, that's our CRA right there.
Let's keep it rolling.
Moving along.
Well, you know, an 88,000 gallon tank, you can grow a lot of tilapia in that from Lake Apopka and make fish money out of that, yeah.
No, that, I'm gonna turn it into a part-time pool, swimming pool. It's already there. Just that close.
How about we go ahead and get this one done? Ordinance, if you would please, 2024-37.
An ordinance of the Town Council of the Town of Montverde, Florida, amending provisions in Chapter 2 of the Code of Ordinances relating to procurement applicable to public buildings, utilities, structures, or other construction projects or electrical work and certain professional services, providing for codification, severability, and conflicts, and providing for an effective date.
So this was put together because we have to make sure we do it the correct way, and I'm not really good at explaining it, so why don't you explain it?
Sure. Yeah, Mayor and Council, and I'll have Anita jump in if she needs to add anything to it. Basically, we're bringing this ordinance for you under Florida statute in order to procure through an RFP process, which is a request for proposals for utility and construction projects. You have to have an ordinance stating by council that that's an acceptable means to procure and bid by. So that's why we're putting this in place, so we can bid for our sewer wastewater treatment plant. Is that summit?
Yeah, specifically the design build part that may be important. You have to, by statute, you have to have an ordinance that authorizes the RFP to be used for design build. The rest of this is very important, and we'll use it going forward, but that really kind of is what we wanted to make sure we brought it forward for.
So you can be more broad on what you're bidding on.
Right, instead of bidding just for a firm number, you can look at other aspects of their qualifications for the design portion, but also get a number for procurement.
Kind of follow the statute, doesn't it?
So
It
this would
does,
go, this would
yes.
go forward also for the water tower and potentially the CUPs and anything coming
Anything
down?
that's construction related based for your property. So, you know, if you have to build a new community center, then you have statutory guidelines you have to follow, but when it falls under a certain monetary threshold, this picks up and tells us how to go about procuring it. That's beneficial for the town and not too onerous for those lower projects that you have trouble getting people to bid on. But it also has the benefit of specifically the council saying we can use an RFP for purposes of design build contracts.
Yeah, 'cause the wastewater treatment plant's a little bit unique from a typical water tower. We're gonna say, here it is, here's how to, this is how it's gonna be built, bid it. With a wastewater treatment plant, there's so many different technologies and ways they can do that. If we called out exactly how to do it, it's just gonna close the bidding down to maybe one or two companies that want to do that process, because they can all get to the same end result using a little bit of different technology. And so this gives us that opportunity for us to say, here's what our water needs to look like going out, here's what it is coming in, tell us how you're going to get from the in to the out and achieve that. And then we can more broadly look at different companies and different technologies through the process and their price that goes with it.
Okay, I'm going to open it up to the public. Okay, I'll bring it back to council. Any questions?
Sounds good.
Okay, I need a motion.
I so move that ordinance 2024-37 be approved.
Need a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against, say nay. Ayes have it. I do believe that's it for us tonight. Anybody else got anything they want to talk to the council about?
I am happy with what is occurring with the parks. All y'all had an opportunity to ride around and see the new concrete and the sidewalks and the pad board and the new pavilion going up. It may be a small thing, but we got a new water fountain on the backside of the pickleball courts. I've used it a couple times already, so.
Drinking fountain?
Huh?
A drinking fountain?
Drinking fountain.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very nice. Nice to have drinking fountains.
A question with the new stage going in, have we given any thought to adding speakers around the park so that everybody can hear what's going on with the stage?
Yeah, I mean, we usually hire a sound company to come to do Montverde or the main concerts.
Well, like I know one of the issues is that, given where the old stage was, if you were all the way over on, what is that, Franklin, on that side of the park, on the other side of the community center, you couldn't hear what was being announced.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, I think with the new design, I mean, we'll see this Montverde, but we can definitely add some more speakers into the system. I don't think putting them permanently out there probably would, we don't do enough vents to make it probably worth the money. But I think where it's laying out, it will look good. And we have 7 oak trees coming in over Wednesday and Thursday. Mr. Parks worked for a couple days with Cherry Lake Tree Farm and helped us procure some live oaks from a heritage acorn or something like that. And so we got like 3 650 gallon come in and a couple 200 gallon or a few 200 gallons coming in. So they're monstrous trees, 20 feet tall.
Wow.
they're gonna go on the.
Kind of in front of this, where the old tennis court is. We'll kind of spread them out there without trying to block the view, but we want to get some shade where people are going to sit in front of the stage, basically, and give them, it'll take a few years to grow in, but at least it'll be a start.
You can come out and plant a
mentioned
tree.
that. We used to put speakers on the roof of the community building
Yeah.
over there, so, and then I don't think that's happened for a few years. So, to get sound of that portion of the park you were talking
Yeah,
about.
it's a dead area.
Because they were missing the raffle.
Yeah.
Yeah, so now everything's in front of the stage. There's nothing behind, so we could do like a double set of speakers too and extend out from the stage as well, but everything for Montverde is going to be in front of the stage except for the car show, and the car show uses their own sound system.
Turn the volume up.
Yeah, and I get those complaints too, but yes, we'll rock it. So,
One other thing, I know it's been very short time since we met last. The idea of a community welcome package to new people coming into town. Any more thoughts on that? How you wanted to pursue that, or?
I mean, as of right now, we're gonna hand out the current bag and newsletter because it's still relevant with the license plate for new people coming in. So we'll do that for now. Then it'll probably be this fall if I really have time to dig into that. To be honest with you, we got a lot of projects I got to get finished up first.
Yep.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Aye.
Hi.
Thank you, council.
Don't we have a committee or something that can do the,
Vision,
what we just said?
the welcoming, or, yeah.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
My wife and I did it. It was fun. You should have walked with us.
A welcome wagon
I like to
committee
do
or
that.
68 miles.
I really like to do, I'd do, Willow Ridge, to jump in on that.
Maybe once every 2 months we should have a welcome to Montverde party.